Hi, good evening, everybody, and we'll call the meeting of the trustees. Robin, maybe you can mute while you're not speaking. Is there a way for you to do that?
That is not me.
Oh, well, whoever's got the background noise, maybe they can mute.
Who's on the 6-1? Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you. All right, so I'm going to call the meeting of the Trustees of Osgood Hill, Town of North Andover, to order. It is 7:02 p.m. on Wednesday, January 27th, 2021. I am David Brown, and I am the chairman of this committee. Opening statement here for our agenda. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws C.30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order, imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Trustees of Osgood Hill will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.northandoverma.gov. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch may do so on their televisions by tuning to Comcast Channel 99, the Ed channel, or Verizon Channel 28, or they can access the meeting online at www.northandovercam.org. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. And in the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Town of North Andover website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. If the public would like to participate in public hearings, please email your question or comment prior to or during the meeting to me, dbrown@northandoverma.gov, and I will periodically check during the meeting to see if anything has come in. And the question comment will be read during the proceedings and responded to accordingly. So with that said, let me double check my email. And there's nothing new there, so we can proceed. So let's first roll call everybody, make sure we're all here. So we'll start with Tom Duggan. Tom?
Although he was just getting on again, he said that he had to reboot.
Yep, here he comes. Tom, can you hear us, Tom? Thumbs up, maybe, Tom?
Yep.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep, now I can.
Okay. Sorry, the wireless in our area is super weak tonight. I don't know why.
Yep, no, understand. Gene Irwin?
Here.
Thank you, Gene. And Robin Ellington?
Here.
And Jerry Justin, Vice Chair.
Here.
Thank you, Jerry. All right. First order of business will be to approve the previous minutes from December, if everyone's hopefully had a chance to review them. And I found nothing controversial there. It all looked good to me. Does anyone have anything they want to change or modify? Or if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of our last board meeting.
I have a motion.
And a second, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry. So Robin has moved. Jerry has seconded. Anybody have any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote to approve the minutes. Tom?
You're muted.
Aye. Sorry.
Thank you, Tom. Yep. Gene?
Aye.
Thank you, Gene. Robin?
Aye.
Thank you, Jerry.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, so the minutes are approved. Okay. We'll give the chairman's update. So start with a review of the RFP for management of the estate. Is now out there. I participated as you all know, and you approved in reviewing it, as did the chairman of the long-term advisory committee and many other people. I, I believe all the comments I made to it found their way into the final version. So it is out there. I did hear back from town manager yesterday because I was asking her about something else, and she said I asked her about this too, and she said it's posted. It's been requested multiple times, so there are at least a few people looking at it. Gene also had a look at it. I don't know, Gene. I never saw any comments though, but do you have anything you want to say about it, or?
I read it pretty thoroughly. I actually thought it was really well written. In also obviously in the best interest of the estate. I was kind of surprised that there was no parameters put up around as far as what they wanted, but I think that's probably the nature of the RFP is let them be as creative as they want and see what they come back with.
Yep.
But I actually thought it was very well written.
Okay. I did as well. And now all of you have had a chance, right? I was able to forward it to everybody. So if there's, I have a few comments on it, but I think I'll hold them unless no one else wants to make any. Does anybody else want to make any observations about it? You all did receive it from me, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So.
Let me just add, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I actually sent my comments back to Andrew, who then forwarded them to Melissa, who responded with some of my questions and concerns on the first draft. But she did incorporate them in, obviously, the final article, the final RFP that went out. And I think I discussed that with you, Dave.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Yep. No, it looked pretty good to me in the end as well. I mean, I do wonder. Well, actually, let me put it this way. So, you know, I'm looking at it right now just to see how to remind myself of how the language ended up. But basically, what I was getting at here is that, you know, it's ostensibly a management. They're looking for a management proposal, right? But it does have a lease option. And I believe that was to try to get, you know, more participation in it, to give bidders an option if they cared to do that. So that was one of the observations that I made. And I think that, you know, that's reasonable. I'm personally very curious to see. I guess my concern is, and the reason I want to bring this up is because our responsibility, this board's responsibility, is more or less operational, right? We're operational advisors to the employees of the town that run this, to Joanna. We have to keep our attention focused on this because I'm you know, what if no one, regardless of what I think, it's always possible that there's no responses or no adequate responses to this, and this thing just keeps going. So we can't take our eye off the ball, is what I'm trying to get at, right? We got to continue to operate until such time as we don't, you know, something happens where we don't need to anymore. And the thing I wonder about is whether there's enough of an incentive for some organization to take on this management role when there's not a lot of financial return to them available, right? Because they're not going to own it, right? Most likely. So
I think that depends on, you know, what they do with it.
Yeah. So we'll see.
There's already $200,000 worth of book business that they're going to be picking up. So I think any organization would see that as an advantage.
Are they going to be reviewing the financials, Joanna? Like, is that going to be made available to them? I don't remember reading that in there. So are they going to, it said they had to keep the existing bookings.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Andrew, can you comment on that?
The existing bookings piece? Yeah, they are supposed to. I mean, I believe it's specified in the RFP that they're going to be required to keep the existing bookings for the contracted amounts and for the numbers, the numbers in each of the events. And I mean, just not to answer Dave's question, but another, another issue is there was, well, you were talking about lease versus management. Never mind. I mean, there was never, it was decided early on we weren't going to sell the property.
Right.
So there was never going to be a full, control and operation of the estate by another entity. It was going to be through a lease or a long-term lease or a long-term management agreement of some sort.
Right.
Andrew, can I ask you a question to that end?
Yep.
I noticed the lease, it says long-term lease, but it doesn't define it. It doesn't say, I mean, normal contract is 2 to 3 years, but obviously who's going to go into this for 2 to 3 years? It's a long, but it says a long-term lease agreement, but it doesn't say minimum 10 years or anything like that. Do you have any sense of what it would be?
I don't. And I think, again, it's kind of, and I don't want to speak, the town manager did a lot of work on this, and I don't want to speak to all her intentions behind it, but I think the general idea in a lot of these were to just keep it as open-ended as possible so as to entertain the widest array possible of different responses. So in an organization, and I'll just mention them because they've been mentioned many times, like the Trustees of Reservations, which has come up many times in the process when we're talking to the long-term advisory committee, they may have a very different way of wanting to be engaged in a lease agreement or management agreement versus another type of entity. And you'll note that the way the RFP is open, it's not specifically homing in on a nonprofit third-party entity. And it's not to say that it won't be a nonprofit third-party entity that's chosen ultimately, but it does, open up the opportunity for another for-profit entity to propose something. So I think it's a matter of seeing what the ultimate results bear out once RFP responses come in.
Right. And I guess it's not really specific too about how, about how the revenues would be split between the management entity and the town, right? Or I can't remember that. Do you remember, Andrew? I think it's not specific about that. It's looking for proposals, right?
Right, exactly. We'd want to see the proposal, but I mean, at the end of this, I think what the town is probably looking for is a straightforward lease payment or some payment to, to be engaged in the management agreement, or it could potentially be a percentage of bookings going forward. I mean, I think there's any number of sort of,
Options. Yeah, that's
So
revenue models that could be proposed, and different organizations are going to have different ideas as to how to do that. And it's up to the town to sort of evaluate which one is in its best interest in combination with the product that entity is going to bring forward.
So I have to amend my concern a little bit because I just realized, Joanna, that I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but you're right. If there's enough of a revenue stream coming in, that could certainly be interesting to somebody, right? And
yeah, we're in a better position than a lot of these businesses out there, especially the private businesses that have nothing going for them right now. Having book businesses, as you know, Dave, significant plus.
Yep. It's like purchase order financing, something I'm familiar with. But okay, so that's fine. But yeah, generally, sorry.
Dave, just to mention that a pricing is kind of the very nature of an RFP is a component, is the pricing is part of the comparative criteria.
Yeah.
So, not only what are they going to bring to the table as far as, for improvements and environmentally, but the pricing. So that's why it kind of left it open-ended also, because they may, like you said, one may offer a flat price, one may offer a percentage of, revenues or sales, however it may be. So they might be all structured differently.
All right. So, again, I think it's pretty well written, and it's interesting and good news that they got interest in it, and some people have looked at it already. So that's good. All right. If there's no further comment on that, I'll just mention, right, that I've been asked by Melissa to help evaluate it evaluate them when they come in. So I will be doing that. All right, that's items A and B. I wanted to give a brief update on the DOR review of our operations. So in that very same email, the town manager told me that state emailed her yesterday, which would now be 2 days ago, with a rough draft and asked for a meeting to review it. She's going to set that up, and we'll get the final report to us as soon as they're done with that meeting. So that is the update on the DCR. Sorry, the DCR review. All right. Any questions on that? Okay. I did ask to, as you guys directed me in the last meeting, to present our strategic plan, the one we developed last fall, right, to both FinCom and to the planning board. I heard back from the planning board already, and they have invited us on February 23rd to be part of their agenda. Let's see, what day of the week is that? It's a Tuesday. So I will certainly be able to do that. But she said, just please let her know. This was from Jean Enright. Said, just please let me know if anyone else would like to attend. So if you know now that you'd like to be there, let me know. If not, you want to be there, Robin?
Yes, I would.
All right. So it's February 23rd at whenever their meeting is. I don't know if it's 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock, but whatever.
That's the planning board, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I'd like to try and meet there. I'm going to check my schedule.
All right. We want to let me know, Jean, because I want to send her an email and say, yeah, I can send it tomorrow.
Yep.
All right. Anyone else?
Hi, Dave. I probably won't. I'll listen in and be available, but I don't. So
You don't need.
I'll be there.
Okay, but you don't.
Yeah. What do we mean by we will be there?
Yeah, that's a good
Zoom
idea.
meeting? I hope.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be there, Dave, because I authored a bit of it with everyone else, so I'll be available if there's questions or things like that to help answer or offer commentary. But I'll probably just take a passive role of listening and being available to be more active if necessary.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking really quickly. Yeah, Tom, I see you have a hard stop. Okay. As soon as I'm done with my section, Tom, we'll see if we can accelerate anything else. Okay. All right. So, Jean, just if you can, early as possible tomorrow, let me know whether you think you can make it or not. And I think that may mean, Robin, I'm guessing that means who wants to be able to speak, because it's probably not an in-person meeting, but I'll figure that out. All right. Did not hear back from the FinCom yet, but I did write to Sasha, the chair, and ask that question. So I'm just double checking, make sure I have two accounts to check here. But no, I haven't heard back yet on that one. All right. And then also an update on filling open seats on this board. I've been in contact with Selectman Laura Bates, and she said that there's a gentleman named Charles Matheson whom they have approved to join us. And I don't know if he's sworn in yet. I just found this out. I've just found out that they approved him today. So he'll should be available for our next meeting. And I've asked her to continue to look to fill the last seat as well. So she is working on it.
Dave, can I ask a question?
Yes.
We have any, or maybe Andrew also, I didn't see anything in the bid either. Is there any sense of what role we'd be playing with this if a nonprofit comes in or a company comes in, or do we even have a role?
As to whether or not you're saying after the town were to contract with a third party, what the role of this body would be, I don't know. I can't say for sure what it would be. I don't know.
Because it's not even referred to in the bid as an advisory committee or anything like that they'd have to
Yeah, I mean, truth be told, I, you know, if I'm being honest, I don't know that again, I'll just go back to the hypothetical of, let's say it's the trustees, you know, they have their own board, and I think they formulate their own boards for the individual properties that they manage. So that's not to say that they wouldn't entertain, you know, having one or more of you all on potentially on that board. I don't know. I can't speak for them. And then, of course, if it's a private third party, same thing. They probably have their own leadership and their own boards to speak of that would want to make management decisions, you know, on their own. So I don't know that there's a wide lane that
Right.
has, you know, has an opportunity for you guys to function the way you are today. But that's not to say that there isn't an opportunity for one or more of you to have a role to play. I don't know. But
Right, but this
Which
is
is what I thought. So
Can I-
that's why I'm wondering if we should continue to fill those open seats, or should we pause until this RFP is back?
Oh, I see a point.
so I
Go
guess
ahead, Tom. Yeah.
so I guess the question that I have, and this is where the RFP was a little bit nebulous and silent, is who then is going to be the final arbiter of the public interest in this property if the property is not being disposed, right? Even if it's a 99-year lease or something like a 50-year lease or a 25-year lease, is the Board of Selectmen or another board going to be the final body that determines what the actions of the leasee and, you know, whether or not it's in the public interest of the property still being in the public ownership?
you know, I'd have to imagine it would be that scenario, Tom, where you'd have the Board of Selectmen and maybe, you know, with, you know, some level of obviously involvement with the town manager. And I'm going to speak to this inarticulately, but you know, if we go back to the legal opinion that was provided a few months ago about sort of the operational management of the estate, it spoke to the you know, the Board of Selectmen having that oversight duty.
Right. Now, I'll add one thing. Informally, I asked Melissa that question myself, and I don't think we can really determine for sure either way, because there's a point to be made that maybe an advisory committee does still need to exist for the very reason Tom was just stating. So I think it's TBD, honestly. You know, I don't know that we can really be sure either way today. I think that's probably something the Board of Selectmen has to consider, right? Do they want a body to continue in this kind of role, or at least some kind of advisory role, or you know, supervisory role?
Well, I would also say it's a decision potentially for town meeting, right, and for the residents, right? So
yeah,
I think that this estate has a lot of you know, value to a lot of different residents in town, and I think that they should have a voice in determining how the public interest in the estate is going to be maintained, and how, when decisions are made by the potential lessee, how those decisions are evaluated, and who ultimately is looking out for the public interest. Because I think there's a lot of great examples of where these types of leases work. Again, I know DCR, the Department of Conservation and Recreation, has a fantastic program that does a lot of long-term leases with historic properties and state-owned properties, and they have a very well-structured program to oversee the public interest. But there's also, for every good program, there's 10 horror stories of where these things go wrong. So I just want to make sure the public interest is protected in this.
yeah, and I would add that I think we will have somewhat of a say in what happens, and a lot probably depends on who the winning bidder would, you know, assuming there's a winning bidder, who it is, right? Because if, like you just illustrated, if it's DCR, maybe we're not so worried about it. If it's somebody else, maybe we are. And I think as a body, we could certainly make our feelings known to the select board and say, hey guys, I think we really need to still be here, and here's why, right? And but I don't think there's any. To answer Gene's initial question, I don't think anything is preset. Right.
What's the
So-
recommendation of the evaluation committee that they go on, and then Melissa's recommendation based on that recommendation?
I think I might have missed the beginning of your sentence. I'm sorry.
The decision is made by when they do there's an evaluation committee.
Right.
And then they make a recommendation to the town manager, and then Melissa considers that recommendation and then makes her recommendation considering theirs. And then it does say in the bid also that it could go before town meeting for a vote. It didn't say it would, it said it could.
Okay. So that's
My
So just-
understanding is that if it's a lease, there would be a requirement that it goes before town meeting. If it's a management agreement, legally it does not have to go before town meeting. I'm not telling you it won't go before town meeting if it's a management agreement. I'm just stating the legality aspect of it. So I think it left it somewhat open-ended just in that regard.
Right.
So this, Jerry, so the other point Gene was asking about was should this board be considering or taking new members? Given the uncertainty, and I would say absolutely we should be taking new members. This board has been advocating for new members for the past at least 2 to 3 months. So I think we need to keep going until there's some obvious point where we don't go forward anymore as we are, or go forward in a different manner. I'm not sure. But I think to maintain a quorum and some of the challenges that we've seen over the last couple, 3 months, I think
2
we should welcome new members, and we can't predict what the RP is going to look like, what the future is going to hold. Chips are going to fall, where they're going to fall. So
We've had an incomplete board for 2 years.
Yeah, that's correct. In any event, we're going to welcome Mr. Matheson next time we meet. So hopefully maybe he's already sworn in. I don't know. All right. If there's no further discussion, that completes my update. All right. We don't need to vote. So Tom, I know you said you had a hard stop and 30 minutes. I don't think there's any real consent items here. It's just operational. So unless you have a particular, if you want me, we could accelerate Joanna's report, or would you rather just keep going?
No, I would say just keep going. I apologize to the other members that I'm going to have to drop off at 8 because of a childcare hard stop for childcare tonight.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll stick with you as long as I can.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. All right, so next up we have financial report and.
So Dave, can I make a suggestion just related to the agenda?
Yes.
I think it's important while Tom is on the line to go through the call it the projection for FY21 related to the deck. I think that Joanna prepared. That I suggest we go through that. It's certainly financial related. It just happens to be in the director's update.
Okay.
Bucket.
Yep.
And then go to FY22 after that.
All right. Take
that
it
makes
away.
sense.
Yeah, I think that's, unless anyone objects, I'm completely in favor of that. So go ahead, Joanna.
All right, I'm just going to present, I guess, the first couple of slides. I won't go to 2022 yet. All right, can everybody see that?
It's coming up.
I'm on the wrong page, sorry.
Got it.
Start at the front. Okay, so Jerry asked me some specific questions, and the first two of these slides, which I'm going to show you right now, are basically what I see as our projected revenue and expenses for the rest of this fiscal year, which ends June the 30th, 2021. So I am anticipating total revenue, including the 90-day deposits and the 30-day deposits for the events that we've got coming up this late May and June. It's $87,000 almost, plus 30% increase, which I always calculate is added on for the total, including bar and catering. And then contracts for 2 weddings that I've got coming in for FY21, with $10,000 each as a ballpark figure for those. So this is what I'm anticipating our revenue projection to be. Right now, our Munis, in our current, in the town's accounting system, we have 68,447, which is 19% of our budgeted revenue, which ties in with these three numbers that you see there, the 86,000, the 113, and the 20. So I'm anticipating our revenue for the full year will be 37.5% of budget. In terms of expenses, these are my projections: 81 salaries, and then 131 in general expenses, 52 and 65% of budget. So basically, we have furloughed Humara, and some of my considerable majority of my hours are now being used in elsewhere in the town to reduce the my salaried expense on the Stevens estate right now. So that's what I have anticipated in that full year. Right now, in Munis, we have our expenses are at 35% for salary, and then general expenses are 39% with 138,000 in total. So between that and the 212,000 I see in the full year is kind of the next 5 to 6 months. So I'm anticipating a loss of 79,000. And this is assuming that no FY22 deposits will be applied to the FY21 budget, which is anticipating what the DOR will come back and tell us. We're still, I think Melissa's still having a conversation with them about our budget.
Yeah.
So
Joanna, I just want to point out, in case people don't know it, please stay there. Yeah. That what Joanna hasn't read there is a change from past practices that could not have come at a worse time for us, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. So basically, as of my budget meeting on January the 6th, the DOR local services division, it's a different department from the local services division that the board was in touch with. So they came down with this ruling that we cannot include any of next year's deposits, even though we're booking events right now, in this year's expenses. In this year's budget because of COVID. So basically, we can't anticipate those revenues are going to come in, and we cannot spend them right now. We have to reserve those for next year, FY22.
Yeah. And then one other quick question.
So Dave, I'm sorry, that really should be no surprise, because that's generally governmental accounting practice. So that's, I mean, that might be new for North Andover, but that shouldn't be new for, government entities.
Yeah, and it would be, as Dave has already said, it would be fine in any normal year to put this into place. And basically, it's kind of left us in this position. But basically, we're $79,000 in the red projected at the end of the year, according to my calculations.
Okay.
My next slide.
So Joanna, just one more question.
Sure.
Sorry.
Do you want me to go back? Sorry, Jerry.
Yeah. So I want to make sure that this slide, so this aligns with Andrew's point of view, Melissa's point of view, the town accountant point of view.
So so actually I don't know, Andrew, because I presented it to, I gave it to you last week.
Yeah.
You want to, I don't know whether you see anything different to this, but the Munis figures we've got now, which are what the town uses, and the projections I've got here are based on what we've got on the books, basically, and the expenses are based on historical and based on COVID.
Yeah, I mean, this hasn't really been vetted by myself. I mean, I did receive it from Joanna. I didn't have an issue with it per se, but it wasn't vetted by the town accountant. The Munis figures are I believe to be accurate. But I know that there's always been sort of a difference in terms of how the town projects future revenue on these events versus how Joanna's done that in the past, and it's been a sticking point. So I can't really speak to if it's in complete congruence. I think right now, and Joanne, I don't know if I missed it if you brought this up earlier, but we're just asking Joanna to sort of go back and give both a best case and worst case scenario for projections on revenue going into this year, so that we can utilize those those projections to formulate a budget from there, and also do it in line with how DLS is, or DOR, excuse me, is directing us.
All right, and I just have one quick one on this page, Joanna.
Yeah.
So the 30% increase line there, which I know is typical,
Yeah.
is it based on where I'm trying to go with my question is, since you're limited in how big a gathering can be, right? Does it scale down? Does it scale down, right? So in other words, if that 30% hit would be on 100 people attending something, and now you can only have 25, does it scale down to the 25?
So due to the changes in my strategic plan over the last few years, I've actually de-emphasized the per person price and the revenue based on the per person, because I've always tried to get in smaller events anyway. So by increasing the venue fees, no matter how many people come in here, and these bookings are coming in, then there's a less of a discrepancy between the low end and the positive end.
Okay.
In addition, there's a beverage minimum spend, so it doesn't really matter how much the capacity gets reduced to. So if we went from 100, say, back to 50, we still get the beverage minimum, whether they spend that money on the bar or not.
Okay.
And granted, it may not be $10,000, it may be $5,000. There's a significant amount of that is profitability.
Okay, so you're pretty confident that 30% still holds. Despite the this basically says so. Yes, it scales. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, and then just one more thing relating to Andrew. So Andrew was clarifying that the Munis numbers are the numbers that the town accountant uses and that the town uses for everywhere else in town. And in looking at so Munis revenue, I got the updated numbers today, but it was after I'd done this presentation. So the Munis revenue as of today is 68,447. So if you look at the difference between that and the 86,994, we're looking at $20-something thousand just based on the deposits that we've got coming in between now and the events that are actually taking place in this year. So it's usually 70 to 80% of the venue fee is coming in between now and the event. So it's not a stretch to believe that we can get $25,000 in those deposits for those events that we've already got booked. And then in expenses, my calculate Munis right now, we've got 138,000 in expenses. And I believe my expense projection at that 212 level is exactly the same as Lynn Savage's.
Okay, and that has taken into account the fact that you're only a small percent of your time now in the next few months is getting out here.
Yeah. So I calculated that out of the FY21 salary number.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, next slide is the appropriated capital project. So back in October, looked at all the funds that we've got available that have been appropriated for capital expenses. All the projects have been put on hold pending the RFP outcome, and I requested that this amount, the 55,294, we could release and to support our expenses in FY21. So granted, the DOR has said, hold on, we don't know whether that's possible, i.e. whether appropriated funds can be unappropriated and spent in the expense budget in the same fiscal year. And I believe Melissa is also asking whether that can be done for the next year. So that 55,000, can we unappropriate it? Even if we couldn't use it this year, could we unappropriate it and move it to our expense line next year? So basically, if looking at this bottom line, if 55,000 was reallocated to our operating budget, our FY21 projected loss would be reduced to $24,000.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah, sure, Tom.
Before that happens, again, speaking in terms of the public trust, I would really like to see a legal opinion about that, because those funds were appropriated at town meeting, and by the
Yes.
actions of town meeting in both the capital and the operating budget. So I think before funds are administratively, which I know there's very little powers for town manager or the board of selectmen to do, I think that needs to be looked at before they can be deappropriated and released back to the reserves or the operating budget.
And I believe that is what Melissa is speaking to
Yes.
the DOR about now. I don't know whether legal advice is a separate thing, but that, I think Melissa's trying to get to the answer to that.
So the money would have to be reverted and recertified into retained earnings by the state, and then it would have to be appropriated at the next town meeting.
But could it go into the current year, or would it have to be for FY22 then?
Yeah, I mean, I think Melissa's initial take is that it would have to be FY22. But
Yeah.
I guess that's what she's looking into, as to whether it can be done all in one process in the same town meeting.
Yeah.
So Joanna, if I'm reading this right, the boiler's already been replaced, right?
No, so we're about a third of the way through the project. The boiler, we started it, and we've got $35,000 plus $75,000 to finish it. So the plans have all been laid out.
So
yeah.
it's in mid. It's kind of in the middle. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That money is left. I see. Okay. Similarly, the bathrooms are they kind of in the middle as well?
Yeah, everything they were. So we didn't start anything on the first floor bathrooms. Yeah, so that's sitting there.
Okay.
We had started the boiler project, but it was a multiple year project.
Okay.
And then everything was put on hold. So.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, funds are gathering dust.
Yeah. All right.
And then, impact on the service levels at the FY21 third quarter. So this was one of Jerry's questions. And as I highlighted earlier, Humara finished work on January the 20th. She'll be back at the beginning of March, which is when we start, or mid-March, we actually start our 3-month detail meetings at that point. So I'd like to get her on board as soon after that as possible. I am moving around to other town departments 30 hours a week so that we can offset my salary expense on the Stevens estate budget. We've got no events taking place during this third quarter, which will help keep operating expenses to a minimum. And then we've had a significant increase in inquiries, tours, and bookings in just this month due to the new website, which was started on early December last year. And then our expertise with COVID weddings has helped to book lots of FY21, 22, and 23 weddings at a higher level in a shorter period compared to historical years. So this is, I typically calculate my average inquiries, average tours, average weddings booked, which tells me if I'm doing well or not. And I've actually averaged them out over the last few years. But if you look at January, just this month, we've tripled our inquiries that we would get in a normal month. And granted, January is busier because it's New Year's anyway, but I've never seen anything like this before. So we're giving probably 8 to 10 tours a week, or we have been doing 8 to 10 tours a week. And I'm on target. I've got about 7 more contracts that are coming in for weddings that we've booked. So FY21, we've got 2. Most of 5 of them are in FY22, and then another couple are in FY23, which is July next year. July to September to October next year.
Joanna,
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Jean.
Sorry, Jerry. I just wanted to say that great job, because I know that a lot of them are due to expertise with, what you've done with COVID and COVID safe weddings. So thank you.
Thanks, Jean.
Yep. And I imagine there's some pent up demand here too, as people plan have delayed a lot of plans, I would imagine.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's, and we're the Stevens Estate is a prime destination now for outdoor tented weddings. So what can I say?
Yep.
We all know this already. All right, I think at this point I can stop sharing.
Yeah, so Joanna, just a question, two questions actually.
Yeah.
Why are you bringing Humira back at the beginning of March instead of April 1st?
So our 90-day detail meetings are starting at the beginning of March. So I don't need her at the beginning of March, but I would like her to be present at a couple of these detail meetings. These are the meetings where they get down to the nitty gritty on the timeline and things like that. So Humar is basically running the event at that point. So I would like to get her in as soon as possible. And then March, we also have, if we have events in April, we'll have 1 month detail meetings for those. So we'll be getting closer. But obviously, it's all based on what's going on. So
Okay.
I'm not going to bring her in before I need her. I'm sitting in a cold room when I'm at the Stevens Estate. So I know how to not use her if I don't need her.
So I guess my other question is if the capital reallocation doesn't work to address the FY21 gap, what's plan B?
I don't know. I thought this is what we were going to talk about tonight.
Well, yeah, and
Okay.
go ahead, Jerry.
No, I think at our last meeting, we brought up this specific topic, looking for the town to come back with, what do we get? What are our options related to this situation? Certainly looking at capitals one, managing expenses is another, and not to discount the increase in queries, which is fantastic. But at the end of the day, it's a dollars and cents question. And I guess that's not something that this board can solve. These are town decisions, and we need to be informed into pride. We can certainly advise, but at the end of the day, it's the town's kind of matter to come up with a solution. So,
Andrew, do you know anything else about the loan? Like the bridging loan or whatever Melissa was talking about, or is that kind of gone to the DOR and we're still waiting on that decision?
Yeah, I think we're still waiting on some feedback on that, but I think at the end of the day, I mean, any outstanding gaps that can't be filled by, I guess, organically through the enterprise fund, whether it's through, the release of the capital funding or, lowering expenses in some form or fashion. The only other source of income money that's out there is, town operating funds or free cash, one-time payment to cover the costs. And, that's up to town meeting to appropriate that.
Yep, and actually that's a good segue to my favorite topic, retained earnings, which are shrinking and is alarming to me. So I'm going to share that because I think it's germane to this discussion. Andrew provided it, so I'm going to put it up there because we should always be looking at that. That to me, that's like our balance in our checking account is the way I look at it. Maybe oversimplifying things, but let's see. Well, probably so. There we go. All right. One second. All right, everyone. I apologize for this little delay. I have a printout of it, but that's not going to help anyone.
are you looking for the email that Andrew sent over like yesterday? Yeah. I think that had it attached.
Yep.
Would it be helpful?
I got it.
Shared it.
Yeah.
I'll share my screen. No, we're not on Zoom, Dave. Oh my goodness, where are we? Here we go. Sent. There you go. All right, it'll be coming up.
Yep, got it.
Got it? Yeah. So I just think as a board, we should be really aware of this, right? This is as of December 31st. This is where we're at. Right here, 37. Right? I think I'm interpreting this correctly. That's what's left. So we don't have a whole lot of room anymore. And that, I worry about that shrinking to zero. That's the scenario that we're talking about here, right, Andrew? If that goes to zero, then the town needs to appropriate something, at least in the terms of a loan, something like a loan, in order for us to operate.
Yeah,
Right.
and I mean, further, I mean, DOR needs to be able to certify, a budget, and I don't know where having this amount of retained earnings as a starting point, what that does to them being able to do that. So,
Andrew, maybe you can explain then the mechanics, or maybe get an answer for this. So when the town voted, the Board of Selectmen voted to transfer money out of the stabilization fund, wasn't that a transfer into the Stevens Estate fund? So shouldn't that have that credit of $200,000 or $250,000 that they appropriated or transferred out?
yeah, I'd have to ask Melissa to better clarify that, the mechanics of that.
Right. You see where I'm going with that? They voted to
Mhm.
make a transfer out of the stabilization to the Stevens Estate. So we should see, if all things being equal in fund accounting, right, and governmental operations, you should see that transfer coming into the Stevens Estate and increasing the retained earnings for use. And then that will get paid back at some point, as per the discussion that occurred at that meeting.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, it might be a little, right. It should be it should be in this fund balance. It should be adding to this fund balance, right? Effectively.
That would be my understanding, Dave, just based on my
Yeah.
knowledge of governmental fund accounting and municipal accounting and budgeting, that I would have expected to see, and maybe it's delayed, maybe it'll show up in January or something like that, but we would see that type of action occurring to increase that bottom line number.
Yeah. So Andrew, can we ask you officially to get us an answer on that?
Yeah, I'll work on that.
Okay, thank you. But understanding too, then even if we assume that happens, which seems like it should, then we would, looking at this, we would note there's this essentially, to put it in more simple terms, we're taking on a $250K loan, right, on our little business here that we have to pay back, and we all got to be aware of that. So that's why I thought it was important to present this. Okay. I'll stop sharing now. So Jerry, do you want to continue with your part? Have a look at the current financials and the fourth quarter financial.
Yeah, we can bring that up.
All right, I'll stop.
You're just talking about the so the 2Q. Let me just open up the thing here.
And then we should also talk about the budget, where we're, if there's anything else to say about it. I know there's a lot up in the air, but.
Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay. So it's just the report every quarter. Lynn Savage generates a report on the performance of the estate And it's essentially lines right up with the retained earnings that we just looked at. As far as collections, and then the detail for the munis report is attached here.
Yeah, it's down near the end.
Yeah, it's usually towards the back. Stevens Estate operating.
Yeah. You might, I don't know if there's an easy
we
way
can
for you to make it bigger.
Make it bigger. uh, Trying to open it. But I think that's generally, let's see if we could just, I know it's attached to the agenda as well.
Hey, Jerry, can I cut in for a second? Because
Sure.
I have a semi-response to the query we had just a minute ago about the money that that was appropriate from stabilization. So it's still in stabilization. The town needs to see how much money actually needs to be transferred over to cover the Stevens estate. So I think that it doesn't show up in retained earnings, but it's there and available. And so it's authorized up to 300,000. So obviously the town, they don't want to have to use any of it ideally, but and they don't want to use anywhere close to 300,000 certainly, but I think the amount is to be determined.
Okay. So it's authorized.
So it's not just like a lump sum of 300,000 ends up in retained earnings and then gets picked away at. It's like it's meant to cover any deficit that ends up occurring as a result of operations.
Right. So in other words,
revenue.
So is it it's a fair statement to make that if retained earnings falls below zero, that will pick up whatever indebtedness is there, and at that point.
Correct.
Yeah. So it doesn't actually get moved until it's needed. Is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
So coming back to your point about a loan, Dave, it's not necessarily a loan; it's more a line of credit that we can draw on up to a certain amount when needed.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense then. Yeah, if that's how you're going to treat it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So.
All right. So back to this munis. I can't make it any bigger. It doesn't seem to be
A way to do that.
working.
Yeah.
But it lines up with what's in the retained earnings report. So it's got the total salary line. This is just expenses, obviously. Of 50,000 and change year to date as of the end of December.
Yep.
And then the expense line, not including salaries, 74. So total expense salaries plus other expenses is 124,369, which is 55% of the budget, basically. And the report really doesn't say, it doesn't really speak to projections.
Right.
It speaks to the actual. So
Jerry, that included the encumbrances that haven't been spent.
That's correct. Yep. Encumbrances is a separate item on this munis report too. Yep.
Yeah. It just happens to be close to the amount of. Yeah, the encumbrances is shown at 36,860. So that's budgeted money, right? That we've not spent. That's effectively is what it means, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's obligation. Yeah. It's obligations.
It's actually not obligated. So the way we do it with encumbrances is if we anticipate a certain amount to be spent, we'll put it in as an encumbrance, but it's not obligated yet. And especially if we can reduce our expenses further, we won't be using those.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay. Well, I think we can leave this.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Joanna, that 50, or what was it, that money, the 55,000, or the amount that you thought you were going to be able to get credited, if you could, that was in question. I don't see that reflected in any, like, in the encumbrances at all. So is it not already so what I'm trying to get at is, are those figures not included in this?
No, they're not in this page. No.
This is operating. So there's other muni reports. I know Andrew provided those to me when I asked about a month or two ago. For each of those capital projects, there's a report.
Yeah.
That
And this,
goes along with
yeah.
them that shows you the detail.
But I guess I have a question. So that when I look at what you have presented here, Jerry, what you have on the screen, so I have a printout of it. It
Yeah.
shows under the salary line encumbrances of 36,860. So is that just money is that what I don't know what that is. Like, is that somehow salary we didn't pay somebody?
Well, we still have 6 months till July,
Yeah,
That's what it is. Okay.
that's
It's
what Joanna was speaking to. That it's planned expenses, but then it's not obligations or it's not commitments per se.
well, yeah.
Yeah, but because I'm reducing my hours with the Stevens estate, we won't be using all of that encumbrance.
Okay. All right. I see.
Typically, yeah, 100% of salary will be used in a normal
Right.
year.
But that's part of the benefit of reducing your hours is that this won't hack it won't hack the retained earnings down at least as much. Okay, I got it. Thank you. All right.
So that's the current financials, and then we went through the retained earnings. So the next piece is just the F-22 budget.
Yep. So
That's Joanna's
part of John's report.
deck, right?
Yeah.
That 2 pages or something.
Yeah. You're muted, Joanna. You're on mute. There you go. While we're waiting, you guys can enjoy this mug. little levity.
There we go. All right. So yeah, this is impact on projected FY22 revenues with the reduction in personnel hours. So basically, I'm saying that we're not actually affecting our FY22 revenues because of the increases in bookings. Down here on the second part of the page, I'm projecting these revenues and expenses. Revenue, and this is actually events that we've already booked. And including contracts pending that I'm waiting to come back for this month for FY22. So I'm anticipating 334,000 in revenue. And basically I'm using full year what we have requested at the budget for FY22 expenses. So full year expenses, 322, 280,000. So basically on the books with the events that we've got booked and contracts coming in now, I see $11,000 in profit.
So I guess related to fiscal 22, where is the town related to Steve's estate budget review? So we had put forth a proposal. A lot of that aligned with what Joanna had kind of provided, and then it got submitted and it's in its review phase, basically. So
yeah, so I had my first meeting with Andrew and Melissa on January the 6th, and we went over it, but basically it was kind of we ended the meeting early because we needed to find out what the DOR outcome was. And we had another meeting today, and I think we're still in holding pattern. But as Andrew mentioned earlier, I'm going to put together my best case and worst case scenarios for these, for our revenues in the rest of FY21 and 22. to give to Melissa. And I think we're going to be meeting again next week. Is that correct, Andrew?
Probably Monday, I would say that, and then town accountant has to turn around pretty quickly to, she has to print a budget book. So she needs to submit all that next week. So we'll know concretely, for better or worse, what that budget's going to be by Monday or Tuesday next week, I'd imagine.
And Joanna, these numbers here, do they, I don't have the budget proposal that we put together back in December in front of me. Is this generally in alignment with what we put together back in December? I know it doesn't show the best case, worst case necessarily, but.
Yes, so this is pretty close to what it's like 99.5%.
Okay.
Melissa asked me to cut a couple of things,
Okay.
like bank charges today, but other than that, that's pretty much what we put forward.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks.
Okay, all set with this? I should stop sharing.
I'm good. Yeah. I'm just hoping that we're able to make this come true, meaning I'm hoping everybody's vaccinated and we're all back to life in the new normal by then. Okay. So Jerry, I think part D here, you had requested a whole bunch of information from Andrew. I think you got it, right?
Yeah, this is actually, I didn't catch this when you put the draft agenda out, but this is actually FY 21, not 22. And we already covered it
Okay.
in Joanna's
Report.
presentation there. Yep.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I should have noticed that.
All right, no problem. All right, so then I guess the last part of the financial summary here, there's a lingering item, I think, from before about website donations. Have we got that worked out, or is that still up in the air?
To tell you the truth, I haven't had a chance to work on it. I've got a donation page that is hidden right now. I haven't had a chance to talk to Andrew about it, but also with this RFP, I don't know what would happen.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. So in the middle of that, do you want to be accepting donations knowing that management, well, I don't know. Does it, I'm thinking out loud, does it matter, right? I mean, it's still a historic property. It's still, it's going to remain North Andover's historic property, right? Somebody else may be managing it, but I'm not sure that has to stop us.
But
So
you
I
need
know that,
administration on the town side to do that, I believe.
yeah, I mean, it's a little, this is just my opinion. I'm not saying you guys need to agree with this. I just, it is a little awkward to be accepting donations at this point in time, given sort of where things are. But that said, and again, I hate to keep bringing up the trustees example, but I know their model is based on a fundraising model. Like they manage a property and they essentially fundraise to be able to operate it. So there'll be an opportunity for people to, if they want to give to the trustees, if they're the ones who are ultimately chosen, if they and I can't even say that they're going to submit a proposal, but if they were, that would be an opportunity, for instance, in the future. So we'll see.
So it sounds like you recommended we kind of put that on hold for now.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can Joanna, we can talk about it. So let's come back to that. But I'd only want to do it based on the town manager's gonna have to approve it. So I don't know what her response is going to be based on the status of the RFP and everything.
All right.
It's basically acquiring the service and agreeing to a percentage rate, blah blah blah, for a credit card fee. So it's kind of convoluted at this point if we're not if we don't go forward with it.
But on the website, your new website, even without the donations button, you've got there that donation, if people want to donate, contact you directly. So since the time that went up to today, have you gotten any inquiries for donations?
No donation request.
Okay. So my suggestion is we table it.
All right.
For now.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
There were several people at Holidays that did ask about donations, though, so that was cool. I said, well,
Did you hand them the form?
Yeah, Yeah, I said it's going on our website soon.
Yeah, soon being the operative word. Does anybody remember when the RFPs are due? Back?
March,
Late.
and
Yeah.
I think it's March, but I don't know I might have to go back to see what the exact date in March is.
Oh, actually, I got it right here. All proposals must be received by 11 a.m. on February 24th. All right.
I was
So
wrong.
so we're not going to be waiting that long to see where we are with all this.
I think they gave either a 60-day or 90-day time to evaluate the proposals.
Right.
So it's not going to be like open them up and hey, here's the winner. It's
Right.
going to take a while to do that.
Yeah, but it's not going to be. My point about tabling this is it's not going to be forever where we're waiting to figure out whether we're still running this thing or not. So
Right.
Okay, let's move on then. Oh well, if everybody is good, does anybody have any further questions on the financial stuff? All right, then let's go on to the marketing committee.
I have no marketing report. We have not had a marketing meeting with things slowing down, and with Joanna's limited hours, we haven't had the occasion to meet, and making plans at this point in time is a little premature.
Yeah. All right. Okay. And then we move on to the director's report. If there's anything left to talk, is there more to go through, Joanna? I mean, we didn't talk about your cover note, which I thought was excellent. But
I'm sorry, cover note? I don't.
oh, you called it your mission. What did you call it?
I'm sorry. Yeah. So every year we submit a narrative for the next fiscal year.
Right.
Thanks. I won't read it out to you now, but I'll send everybody another copy of it. I don't think I sent it to everybody.
Yeah.
But it's the goals we've accomplished in the past year, and what is set in front of us this year. So.
Right. It's what it is. It's a nice sort of. It's like a 3-page kind of where we are right now document, which I think is really good. And if anybody needs to talk about it or remember it for themselves, and I think it was posted with the agenda here, so we should all have access to it.
With the FY22 budget.
Yes, I asked Bernadette to include it, so it's in the public record. So I want to compliment you on it. I think it's an excellent snapshot of where we are.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you.
All right. Okay. I did have this next item under operations that they probably I'm reading it right now about re-identifying a subcommittee to track estate needs. But again, given the RFP, maybe we should just hang on that one. Anybody disagree?
Got no money to spend anyway.
Yeah. So, all right.
Yeah.
So we'll table that for now. Does anyone have any new business they'd like to bring up?
I'd just like to ask Joanna about holidays.
Oh yeah, we should have.
It was wonderful. After many pivots, Santa went remote, but it was incredible. So we decorated the pergola out back with beautiful coloured lights, and North Andover Cam, and actually Bill sat here for 2 whole days, Saturday and Sunday. He sat outside in the cold and the snow and helped us get our link to Tyler, who is Santa. Tyler Stevens Wood lives in Long Island, New York. So him and Gina and their son Johnny were dressed up and having a really cool conversation with all the people that were lined up. So people brought their kids. We ended up having probably about 140 kids or people that went to see Santa over 2 days. And I had at least 160 tours that were scheduled on the half hour with reservations only. We had the reservations on the new website. So we had a lot of tours of the house, which was really good. The Historical Society, the Improvement Society, Stevens Memorial Library, the Garden Club, and the Women's Club decorated a room each. The house was really, really fantastic because of them, because we couldn't get our event vendors to help out. Everybody's in the dark right now. And then finally, what we did last of all was we kind of pivoted to take part in the town's street drive-by show for the town for Christmas lights that people decorated their houses with. So what we did was we decorated all of the windows in the front of the house that you see up the driveway, because there were 24 windows, and we actually turned each of the windows into one number of the nativity of the advent calendar, and there were still some numbers that were actually lit up with lights through them, and it looked really, 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 really cool. So got lots of compliments, lots of people that come up every year for holidays, bring their kids. Yeah, just it was totally different to what we normally do. We normally have Santa's workshop with hundreds of kids in the garden room playing Lego and throwing popcorn around. So we couldn't do any of that, but just the fact that people came up, they made reservations, the kids could see Santa. We still had the house decorated, and then we were also part of the drive-by thing. It was really, really good. And then finally, we collected like 6 boxes of donated goods, whether it was gifts, jackets, coats, hats, and some food, non-perishable food, that we then took it down to the Kindness Collaborative, and we took down to the Senior Centre, and then we took down to Blanket Me. So a lot of people who donated stuff off, they dropped it off at the portico, drove around the fir tree and drove out again. But it was a really good as a way of receiving donations that we could work with these other organisations to get out. So all in all, it was really good. It was hard work. It was momentous amount of work that went into it, and I couldn't have done it without all the volunteers that I had. So yeah, it was good. Good
And,
to see everybody happy. It's been a really tough year, so it was really nice to see the kids coming up and taking a break and seeing Santa, and even the parents having that relief of just a half an hour of kind of time out of normalcy.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic, Joanna. Good job.
Thank you.
Lovely. And then it's a little minor thing, but we also had a Hanukkah lighting up there.
That's right, we did. On the Thursday night, it was the last night of Hanukkah. So yeah, we actually had Don Chappelle, who did our ice carvings. He actually carved a Hanukkah
menorah. Yeah.
And we had it lit, and it was freezing cold. Under the fir tree. It was that Thursday night when it was in the teens. It must have been 15, 16 degrees. The menorah candles kept blowing out. We were there for about 45 minutes and actually gave up in the end. But it was really, really nice. We had about 7 or 8 different people there. Just a really nice, friendly little gathering. And
so I couldn't get there on time, but I came a little bit later, and the ice sculpture was phenomenal. It really was very pretty, even without the lights lit up in it, just the natural light that was around.
Yeah.
You could see through it. It was beautiful, really.
Yeah, I agree. I saw it too.
Yeah, and it's under the fir tree. Just very nice. Yeah, cool. Glad you were able to come and see it, Dave.
Yeah, it all things considered, you did what you could, and I think it was really, really nice to be proud of, for sure.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Any other new business anybody has? Okay. I'm thinking out loud about next meeting date. Does it make sense to wait? So I think it might make sense to wait until after that RFP date to meet again. Not much going on now between now and then anyway. So should we maybe aim for, so that they're due back, like I just said, what did I say, February 24th? So maybe we meet early in March. What do people think?
So just to clarify, so what would be the advantage of waiting till after the RFP responses came back? Because
we'd have some idea, if there were any, right? Because if there aren't any, that's a significant piece of information for us. I guess that's really the main thing. Because if there are one or more, then there'll be an evaluation process, and that will take a while. So we certainly don't want to wait. I'm just thinking out loud. We won't want to wait till after that. But I also think like, I mean, there's no operations at the moment, really, right? Until March.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what we'll talk about a month from now if operations haven't restarted. I mean, nothing. I don't think any of these numbers will change,
I
right?
think you know what the DOR comes back with and whether all of these little important things, like FY22 budget, FY21.
That's true. We'll have, yeah, that's true. The FY22 budget will be set by then, right? That's true. All right.
And an answer to how we finish off FY21.
All right. Well, then, with that, okay, with that in mind, looking at the calendar, well, I would sure like to know. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. I was gonna say I would sure like to know if and who responds. But it would be just nice to know that. But I guess it doesn't.
I mean, I don't think the first week of March is, unreasonable.
Yeah, I mean, we are at the end of January, right? So
Yeah.
I could try for. Well, it's Thursday the 25th is the day after. Or we could look at the first week of March. Does everybody know now? Could we target? Oh, well, I don't know what Cam's availability is, so it doesn't matter.
I
So
will be unavailable the first 2 weeks of March. My husband is going in for open heart surgery.
Oh, yikes. Okay, good luck with that to him. So, well, then let's try to target, given that, let's target that last week of. So maybe I'll try for Thursday the 25th. Does that work, at least as far as everybody knows now?
I'm good.
Jerry?
I'm not available in February.
Oh, that's right. So I'm going to have to do this by email anyway. Well, let me at least find out from Robin and Jean. Oh, so you're not available even remotely, Jerry?
No.
No? Okay. So
I'll be in
Rob,
sunny Florida.
what's that?
I'll be in sunny Florida.
Well, I think
Boo-hoo.
I heard they had internet.
Again.
I had heard they had internet there. I mean, I know it's a backward place.
Honestly, guys, I don't want to get on here and see Jerry having a good time in Florida. So let's just get out of it.
This is
You
No
don't
one-
want to see me. Yeah. Never mind.
We'll all be freezing our tootsies off up here.
Yeah, and Jerry will be out there with the big hat and the drink and. All right. So sorry. Okay. So as far as Robin and Jean know, 24th and 25th both look good to you. I need to have more than one option with Cam.
Yep.
I'm good both days.
All right. I'm going to try for one of those 2 days. And I'll get back to you and we'll see if our new person can join us. I'll ask him too. Joanna, is that good for you, those 2 days?
Yeah,
Andrew? Andrew, as
Both
far as you
days.
know?
So what were the dates again?
Wednesday, Thursday, the 24th, 25th of February?
24th, 25th. 24th, probably, it may not work for me. 25th, yes. The 24th, I have a placeholder, and this is also may end up being conflicting for Cam. I have a placeholder for a public meeting for the Downtown Improvement Master Plan.
Okay.
So we may try to get that night for Cam, and either way, it might be a conflict. So Thursday would be the better bet for me.
All right. So let me just make a note to myself here. So no Jerry in February. That rhymes. No Jerry in February. And I'm sorry, Robin. No Robin. This sounds like sounds like the beginning of a poem. No Robin in early
In
March.
the spring.
No Robin in the spring. That's no good. March first 2 weeks. Okay. Well, good luck to your husband, obviously. And Jerry, good luck to you, man. Stay away from those crazy people in Florida that don't wear masks.
Yeah, I know. It's like the Wild West down there.
Yeah, the wild South.
It'd be a culture shock.
Yeah, my son spent a couple of weeks down there in December, and he was afraid to go anywhere. People are crazy. Well, anyway, he's very concerned about non-mask, as am I, and about non-mask wearers, and especially there's so many cases. So be careful. That's my word of advice. All right, if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn
And
the meeting for today.
Thank you. I
I'll
will
second it.
Okay, you got it. Well, all right. I guess we should be official. I vote yes. Robin?
I vote aye.
And Jean?
Aye.
And Jerry?
Aye.
And Chairman says aye. And have a good night, everybody. Thank you.